So you want to learn how long it takes to build muscle so you can gauge whether or not you should start working out. See if it's worth the time. Well, I'm here to tell you exactly how long it takes to build a good amount of muscle and how long it takes to actually get an attractive body from weightlifting. So first, a little bit about my story. I had been a skinny kid for all of my life, and I thought that I needed to eat 7,000 calories a day to actually put on weight. I just didn't see any worth in starting to eat more and going to the gym because I thought my genetics are horrible. I'm just made to be a skinny guy. This all changed when one of my friends started working out in a gym and started eating more. He put on some weight, he put on muscle, and I was like, I want to do that. Let me join you. So that's what I did. I immediately started bulking. I started training full body 3 times a week, and I started actually sleeping for 10 hours, 9 or 10 hours. I also started to actually track my food because I learned that I was actually eating about 1,200 calories to 1,800 calories a day. That is not enough calories to put on weight. So no fucking wonder I wasn't putting on any weight. After immediately making this switch, I went from looking like this to looking like this. That's a pretty big difference in just 3 months. And that's my point. You can build a pretty good amount of muscle in just 3 months. Depending on your genetics, of course. I think I have a little above average genetics because I'm very good at putting on muscle. So it might take you a little bit longer, but it should take about 3 months for you to notice substantial gain. Now, what do I mean by attractive body? There's 2 things. Number 1, you look like you're going to the gym. You're actually fitting nicely in clothes. You're filling out your sleeves, and you overall look like someone who actually works out. And the second one is you are seen by everyone as the muscular guy. And there's also something attained to that by having a V-taper. A V-taper is a very attractive part of your body where you have broad shoulders that go down into a small waist. That's what a V-taper is. That is traditionally what is actually meant by an attractive body in a male, is the V-taper. Now, of course, you can put abs into that, big arms, big chest. All those things matter, but mostly it's the broad shoulders and the small waist that actually go into an attractive body, because then you fill out your clothes and you have a small waist, so you have that broad look. That's what females look like or look for in a guy. Now, to answer the question of how long it takes to get an attractive body, we first have to look at a couple of different things. Now, the first thing we're going to look at are genetics. Genetics play a huge role in your ability to put on muscle, to get an attractive body, and actually how long it's going to take you. You can either get an attractive body in 3 months or 2 years, depending on your genetics. That is how big the difference in genetics are. If you have absolute shite genetics, you struggle to put on weight, even fat, let alone muscle, you will probably not have a very attractive body until after 2 or 3 years of weightlifting. That is how long it's going to take you. But if you have absolute top tier genetics, it's probably going to take you just about 3 months to actually get an attractive body. Now, of course, we're not talking about steroid usage. All of this is natty talk. We're only talking about what you can do naturally, not with PEDs, because that's a different topic. We're not going to get into that. I'm not on PEDs, so I don't really have any experience talking about that. Now, your genetics will show whether or not you have slow or fast gain in the first 3 months. So make sure to take progress photos so you can tell whether or not you have good or bad genetics. Because if you have bad genetics, after 3 months, you're not going to be seeing a lot of a difference at all. But if you have good genetics, then you should be able to tell that you've put on muscle or fat or just weight in general. Next, we're going to be talking about how to actually train. There is one thing that you need to get through your head. You are not a weightlifter. You are a bodybuilder. There is a drastic difference in those two things. A weightlifter or powerlifter will prioritize low reps with a lot of weight. That is going to be training your strength, not your muscle mass. That is not what we want. We want to go the bodybuilder route. We want to go low weight with higher reps to actually stimulate hypertrophy to build more muscle. That is what we want. That is what you need to prioritize. A powerlifter will prioritize compound lifts. You need to prioritize isolation exercises. That is where you will get most of your gains. Now, of course, you can still have some compound exercises like the squat and bench. Don't really deadlift. That's not going to help you get muscle at all. That's mostly going to build your strength. But the bench press should be okay, and the squat definitely. Squats are fantastic at building your legs. But make sure that you don't go heavy for low reps. Go for about moderate weight for higher reps. That is what you should do on compound lifts, or else you'll build your strength, not muscle mass. Now, you need to make sure that you are disciplined enough to actually go for those higher reps and actually reach failure. It is very easy to just do 1, 2, or 3 reps. Like, you can crank that out immediately, but to actually go for 15 reps, that requires discipline. So you need to have the discipline to actually reach failure in those higher reps. That is where all of the gains are. You need to actively get close to failure. You probably think failure is just when you feel the burn and it takes a little more time to get the weight up. That is not failure. Failure is where you don't complete the rep. It may sound stupid that I'm actually saying this out loud, like this should just be common sense, but you need to get it through your thick skull. Failure is not completing the rep. That is muscular failure. If the weight is still moving a centimeter per second, you have not reached failure yet. You need to keep going. If that rep takes a minute to complete, do it. You are still not at failure yet. So I would advise that you go for about 10 to 15 reps on each exercise. If you're training a smaller muscle group, like maybe your rear delts or side delt, or something that can't take a lot of weight, I would suggest you go for a more higher rep range, like 10 to 20. So you can actually progress with decent form still while still upping the weight, or else you're just gonna be upping the weight while you're still not ready for that weight yet to actually be able to take that for a higher rep range. So if you're doing that, then 10 to 20. Now, if you want to learn about exercise selection, you can go check out my video, How to Build an Attractive Body. I'll have it pop up right here somewhere, and you can just go watch that for which exercises you should be selecting. Now, the next thing we're going to be talking about is how to eat. Eating is essential to building muscle. People think that the training is the hard part. It's really not. The training is the easy part. The hard part is the diet. Now, you need to bulk. You need to eat in a calorie surplus to actually put on weight, put on muscle. You will put on some fat, but don't worry, you can shred that off later. But right now, you should be focusing on bulking to actually build muscle. If you're cutting too much, you are minimizing your gains. We want to optimize your gains right now so that you can get an attractive body in the shortest amount of time possible. You need to bulk in order to do that. Now, make sure that you're eating about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to maximize muscle growth. That is what you should be aiming for. You can use any sort of tracking app to track your calories and what you're eating, your macros and such. But make sure to aim for about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. That is what you should be aiming for. Now, of course, don't eat like shit. Don't eat fast food or candy or ice cream, all of these unhealthy things. Actually eat good stuff like chicken, rice, potatoes, meat, nuts. All these things are good. You need to be eating those instead. Get good nutrients, or else, yeah, you'll build some muscle, but you'll build fat. You'll most likely be building a lot more fat. We don't want that. You are what you eat. And that is something you need to get through your skull. You are what you eat. You need to fuel your body with actual good food in order for it to actually be an attractive body. Make sure you're eating good stuff, not fast food, not candy, not all these unhealthy foods. Eat healthy foods. Now, the next thing we're going to be talking about is sleep. Sleep is by far the most important thing in order for you to build muscle. Sleep will determine if you're going to be building muscle or not. So you need to make sure that you are getting at least 8 hours of sleep. Now, when I say sleep, I don't mean 8 hours of bedtime. I mean 8 hours of sleep. You might be going to bed at about 10 p.m. and waking up at 6 a.m. thinking that you've gotten 8 hours of sleep. You probably haven't. You've probably gotten more like 6 or 7 hours of sleep if you're lucky. Because it takes time for you to fall asleep. And you wake up during the night. Even if you don't think so, the average person wakes up about 10 times per night. Now, you're not really fully awake in that state when you wake up at night, but you're still doing it. You're still waking up at night, losing that sleep. So, what you need to aim for is about 9 or 10 hours of bedtime in order for you to actually get 8 or 9 hours of sleep. Now, you can figure out how much sleep you're actually getting per night by downloading the app Sleep Cycle. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just think it's a very useful app to actually track how much sleep you're getting. So make sure you're getting that and putting it on every night so you can see how effective your sleep actually is, and then allocate bedtime according to it. Sleep is very important. You are building muscle when you're resting, not when you're working out. That's not when you're building muscle. You're building muscle when you're resting, especially during sleep. So make sure you're getting enough sleep so you are actually maximizing your gains. Now, with all of this being said, make sure you're consistent with everything and you will be optimizing your gains pretty good. Make sure you take progress photos as well so you can see your genetics, see your progress, so you can actually tell how good your genetics are and how long it'll take you to get an attractive body. And now, to answer the question, how long does it take to get an attractive body? Well, about 1, 2, or 3 years. About that time. That's how long it takes. Depending on your genetics, it'll vary between 1, 2, or 3 years. So make sure you check for your genetics and you'll see how long it will take you to get an attractive body. And make sure you're staying consistent. I hope this helped. Good luck and see you soon.